My name is Talana Shabera. I am 14 years old. I was promised in marriage when I was 3, betrothed at 10, and pregnant at 12. After 3 days of labor, I was carried on a stretcher to a hospital, where my baby died 2 hours later. The obstructed labor left me incontinent. I smell and I feel so ashamed. In Ethiopia, over 9,000 women and girls suffer from obstetric fistula. The prolonged labor they endured has left a hole between the bladder and the vagina, leaving them permanently incontinent. Exact numbers are difficult to obtain because women with fistula often remain hidden and abandoned to their shame. As long as poverty and lack of access to obstetric care exists, fistula will continue to rise. Dr. Catherine Hamlin has dedicated her life to repairing fistulas and restoring the dignity back into the lives of young women. Over 40 years ago, together with her late husband Reg, she founded the Fistula Hospital in Addis Ababa. It is a major teaching institution for obstetricians and gynecologists from all over the world. Catherine has heard many times over heartbreaking stories like that of Talanish.
I feel that I can get into the life of these girls because I've seen so many of them, and I can picture a little girl marrying at an early age, possibly marrying at 13 or 14, going to live with her in-laws in a country village, away in a beautiful spot in Ethiopia. But for this little girl, she doesn't notice the beauty, she doesn't notice that she's living in some perfect idyllic spot, because her life is a hard one. She is taught by her mother-in-law to be a good wife. She has to carry the water pot on her back from the well or the river. She has to carry the sticks for the fire. She has to grind the grain for the food and look after her husband and possibly her in-laws as well in this small house. She eventually gets pregnant after puberty, perhaps at 15 or 16, and she looks forward to the day when she's going to have a baby. She comes into labor. She's lying there. She has nobody. She doesn't know what's going to happen. She starts it possibly with an element of fear as well, because she hasn't really known what's going to happen to her. She's had no access to a hospital, to antenatal care, to a midwife. Nobody's told her anything except the village women.
In addition, the savage terrain makes access to remote areas difficult, especially during rainy season. 75% of the population live on average 2.5 days' walk from the nearest road, and the endless journey continues until they reach a medical facility, should one exist at all.
Day after day she lies there suffering. She's in agony with these pains coming every 5 minutes. And she becomes completely dehydrated and exhausted. And the labour continues. Finally, after the 4th or 5th day, when the family have given up hope that the baby's going to be alive, she will deliver a stillbirth. And she becomes just so exhausted, she just falls into a sleep. She wakes up to this terrible horror of finding the bed soaked in urine. She doesn't realize what has happened. She has no idea that she's got a hole in her bladder because of the baby's head pressing for so long on the soft tissues, and the tissues have died. And there she lies, thinking, perhaps if I keep still it'll dry up. nothing happens. Her husband deserts her. He doesn't understand what's happened. So she's no good to me anymore as a wife.
With the death of her baby 2 years ago, and the horror of finding herself constantly leaking urine, Talanish has become an outcast. At the young age of 14, she has suffered more than any woman in the world should be called on to endure.
Because my daughter was an underage bride, her pelvis was too narrow and she lost the baby. But with God's grace, my daughter was saved.
She finally is given back to her mother and father. But they love her, they look after her. They put her in a shed somewhere alone because the rest of the family can't stand the smell in the small house. And there she will exist until somebody tells her that she can be cured.
Having stayed curled up for days, weeks, and sometimes months, her knees and hips have contracted and her muscles wasted. Many of these girls require long-term physical therapy to regain the ability to walk normally. Fatima has foot drop due to damage to the nerves that run through her pelvis. Like many, she will face a long wait before she is strong enough to have her fistula repaired. For others, the delay in getting to hospital may have been too long, and their internal injuries too severe.
She's a fourth child, and she got into obstructed labour and presented to the hospital with a ruptured uterus.
So now she's had 4 dead babies without a uterus now. She's lost her uterus, so she won't have any more pregnancies. But she's going to be cured. Finish operation. We are expert now at repairing these injuries. But the task is really beyond us. And we feel that the preventive side of this work is so enormous that we have to have other people involved.
Until we raise the age of marriage, have access to emergency obstetric care, and ensure skilled attendance at birth, women and young girls will continue to suffer from the devastating impact of fistula. Don't walk away from them.
Wali nyumana